Alright there, we're looking at an unofficial homemade conversion of Street Fighter 2 for the Amstrad, and it's third in my series of homemade conversions. Spectrum and Commodore got a version released at Christmas 1992 from US Gold. We promised for over a year and a half that the Amstrad version was on its way. Amstrad Action magazine in particular made a huge fuss over the game, dedicating a whole cover and feature to it in the August 1993 issue, nearly a year after it was announced. Little bit of interesting piece there where it says the Street Fighter 2 version was developed by a team in France, posing communication problems, but last they heard the team were disbanding, so maybe the version was scrapped. Anyway, it was first mentioned in the September 1992 issue, and then pretty much every month in the next month pages at the back of this issue saying it was coming next month. It became a bit of a long running joke. Anyway, by November 93 it started appearing in the news pages, and here's one saying that US Gold have confirmed it's definitely happening, but it will go straight on the budget label by the time of Christmas 93. And the next month, December 93 rolled around, and yet again another news article, and so it will definitely be reviewed in the next issue, January 94, the 100th issue of Amstrad Action. Well, that issue came round, and here's the final news article, only a little tiny mention. Right, US Gold informed us that the release date they had on their schedules was a clerical error, and there were no plans to release the game on the CPC ever. The Amstrad Action Tribute magazine last year goes into more details about this. It's well worth picking up. But anyway, the cynic in me thinks that I think US Gold long abandoned the idea of releasing the Amstrad version, and Amstrad Action just strung out for as long as they could to sell more issues. Seems the Amstrad scene was kind of dying. Anyway, here's the unofficial conversion by a guy called Hermol. As you saw there, there's 5 players you can choose to play as, and here you choose your opponent. We're going to play as Ryu versus Ken, and here we go. First impressions are not great. I mean, obviously the sprites are quite small, but that's going to be expected on a humble 8-bit machine like the Amstrad. So kind of looks a cross between the Commodore 64 and Game Boy version, which I'll come on to shortly. Some sprite distortion going on. There's only one sound effect, a little sort of crunch noise, no music. And the controls are really sluggish and unresponsive, and it's actually quite easy. Seem to always been by doing flying kicks and sweep kicks. Not a great deal of challenge, but the graphics look really familiar to me actually, and then I realised that from the Game Boy version. So here's a Game Boy screenshot. Next up, the Amstrad screenshot to compare, and then let's put them together. And as you see, Hermel's been a very clever chap and rips all the graphics and sprites and backgrounds from the Game Boy version, which has obviously saved him a lot of time. Now, as for the actual gameplay, as I said, the controls are really quite sluggish and unresponsive. There's a limited sort of set of moves you can do. Certainly no special moves or attacks, although I think there's a couple of spinning kicks you can do like that. You just saw Ken do. Certainly no fireballs and Hadoukens or whatever. And yeah, it all looks rather familiar. Well, plays rather familiar, especially this screen here, counting down the time, bonus and points, the layout and stuff. And doesn't take a genius to work out. This is basically a hack of the original Street Fighter game that was released on the Amstrad. So we'll just take a quick look at the original Street Fighter, and yeah, I think you can tell it's the same game from the sound effects, the status bar at the top and bottom there, how everything sort of moves and plays. Well, strangely enough, the opponent's a little bit more tougher in the original game. As you can see, he's already taking quite a bit of energy off me. Now let's just move this on. I think the final confirmation of this comes from the completion screen. Here it is on the original Street Fighter game. Yeah, exactly the same. The time bonus counting down. Even more so with this happening. Happens exactly the same in Street Fighter 2. So then when you defeat your opponent, you move on to the next one. But anyway, you know, Hermol's been a very clever chap here. He's written the graphics in the Game Boy version, and he's used the game engine from the original Street Fighter game. And, you know, obviously, that's taken a bit of time to do, and I'm not knocking him for all his hard work and efforts. It's nice to see Street Fighter 2 on the Amstrad in whatever form it arrives. And arguably, it might actually be a bit more playable than some of the official releases. I don't know, I've not really played many of them apart from the obvious SNES versions and stuff. I remember the Spectrum version had really impressive, like large sprites and graphics, but played like an absolute dog. The Commodore 64 version I remember as well, sort of played a little bit more slicker and faster, but had absolutely terrible graphics. Felt nothing like Street Fighter 2. Overall, I'd probably put the Spectrum version ahead of it, just for trying, even though apparently it had dreadful loading times. Alright, we're playing against Chun-Li now. She's a little bit more tricky. She likes to jump about the screen a bit. My sweep kicks don't seem to connect with her unless you're really close. So she presents a little bit more of a challenge. But yeah, the old sweep kick move that was so handy on the original Street Fighter game is handy here as well. Next opponent, we're moving through these opponents swiftly. I'm making a few edits here and there, just to get within the 15-minute YouTube time limit. Here's Blanca. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, there's no two-player option, which is a shame. But I doubt you get many of your friends wanting to give you a two-player battle on this. Right, on to Zangief. Shouldn't that be USSR spelt? Anyway. Yeah, it's worth mentioning there's a bit of a few sprite problems there. As you can see, the part of the sprite warps around to the other side of the screen, which looks pretty bad. But hey, you know, I'm not expecting you know, perfection from Hermol or whoever would have attempted porting this game across unofficially. I mean, this is done, you know, in people's own times at home whilst they've got full-time jobs and all that kind of stuff. So you know. Don't get me wrong, I'm really thankful that someone's taken the time and effort to, you know, make this. So, well done, Hermol and whoever else may have been involved with it. You never know, perhaps someone can come along and touch this up, like, you know, at another time. Add some music, fix the graphics, add some special moves, who knows. I'm not sure anyone cares anymore, you know. Right, third to last opponent, Balrog. In Las Vegas setting. Again, he's fairly easy. The old sweep kick move and jump kicks, working a treat. He only seems to want to do his punch move. If you want a really good Street Fighter 2 style beat 'em up on the Amstrad, you want to take a look at a pretty unknown game because again it was a homemade game released in the I think mid to late 90s. It's called Frez Fighter 2. That's Frez Fighter 2, and that is simply an amazing beat 'em up game. Sure, it's not going to compete with 16-bit and arcade beat 'em ups, but it's a great one-on-one fighter with some of the most gorgeous graphics on the Amstrad. Probably the best intro and opening sequence I've ever seen on an Amstrad game, apart from the recently released Orion Prime, which for both Orion Prime and Frez Fighter 2 I'll be doing videos of. But anyway, back onto this game. Second to last opponent, Sagat. Again, sweep kick, jump, sweep kick, works a treat. Although I think when he hits you, he takes a bit more energy off than the other fighters. So he's his second to last opponent. I think he was a final opponent in the original Street Fighter game, I can't remember now. And I think he had a fireball move in the original Street Fighter game as well. Anyway, won that, and we're on to the final boss battle against Bison shortly. Now at last this guy presents a real challenge actually, and he beat my ass so many times, as you'll see shortly. Now in the first round he seems to be a little bit easier than in round 2 or round 3. He's also got a fireball move, which is why he's so tough. When he hits you with a fireball there, he takes off huge amounts of energy and can often fire 2 fireballs at once. The trick to beat him is just keep doing jump kicks constantly, and if you manage to get close to him, do the quick sweep kick move. But obviously the problem, like for most of the game, is the unresponsive controls. So sluggish. So we won the first round. Let's see what he comes out with now. Starting off okay. Here comes his fireballs. Oh, the kick there took off nearly half my energy. Oh, 2 fireballs and he's finished me off. Okay, third round. Getting there quick with the jump kicks. 2 fireballs, 2/3 of energy gone. Another fireball and I'm dead. So yeah, if you're playing this game, if you fire it up, the only opponent worth playing against is Bison. Give you a bit of a challenge. Unfortunately, you lose. I tried several times to beat him and eventually did. So here's a video of round 3, the final round, where I do actually kick his ass. I just wanted to see if Hermol put in a completion endgame screen. There isn't one, I'll tell you now. Just so I can just sort of wrap things up here. So, well done Hermol, thank you for making this conversion. You very, very cleverly hacked together the Game Boy graphics, I believe, and the original Street Fighter game, and and put it all together, so thank you for that. I think overall though, I can't really give this a high mark. 6 out of 10 if I'm being down on it, 7 out of 10 if I'm being very generous. 6.5 then. And we've finally beaten him. So thanks for watching. I'm going to be on the lookout for more homemade conversions on the Amstrad. Let me know if you remember any that I can do. And there's Bison defeated. No completion screen though. But anyway, thanks for watching and see you on the next lot of videos. Cheers, bye.